Press your foot on the pedal, bring the revs up slow. Watch for that green light, now go cat go, but don't you hit that goddamn wall. Well, it's Saturday night, it's time for the wheel-to-wheel show.
Oh, what a treat. Welcome back, everybody. We've got the dulcet tones of Midrisky bringing us some fantastic tunes to lead us into what is going to be an absolute cracker evening of racing here. My name is Captain Lowside, and welcome back to the Wheel-to-Wheel YouTube channel. We are here tonight to watch our E League, our entrance league, sporting some of our recent additions to the league and some drivers. We've currently got them on track, just doing a quick test lap and a pit stop, just to make sure the lobby's all up to scratch and we're not going to get halfway through a race and have to restart. We have had to do that before, so it's something we want to avoid. You already heard the dulcet tones of Midrisky. He's also in the comms box with me tonight. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Cap. It's a pleasure to be here. G'day, Dodgy. I can't wait to end the season. It's going to be an hour and a half with some pretty quick racing when you have a look at some of the times that were set by some of the guys at the top. Looking forward to it.
It's been an absolute insane season. It's going to be a fantastic way to cap it off too, with 39 laps around Spa. Once we get things kicked off, it's just going to be a little bit over 90 minutes, so an hour and a half enduro. And doing our comms for that hour and a half is Dodgy. Good evening.
Yes, thanks guys, and Elvis has definitely left the building. Well done, Midrisky. You've got more balls than a gym, mate, I tell you. But yeah, looking so forward to Spa. This track is just either your best friend or your worst enemy. And I think with some of these really quick guys in here tonight, it is going to be an awesome evening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So these guys are just going to finish up this second lap and we'll be able to get things underway. And
Did they all go in? I'm just looking at a couple of the guys.
Yeah, a couple of the guys have continued on, which is probably not a bad thing. Realistically, it simulates what would happen in a race where a couple of people pit at different strategies, and that just shows that we are able to get in and out of the pit lane, and we should be all set to go. So these guys will finish up their lap, and we'll get things kicked off. So, yeah, Midrisky, you've already commented on a couple of race times or even just overall pace around this track already. We've seen Fixer Chris do an absolute bonkers qualifying lap with a 2:14.2. I can't comment on whether he had slip down the Camel Straight for that lap or not, but I mean, either way, he cleared the field by about half a second in quality time, so he's definitely one to watch out for. Who else have you got your eye on, Mid?
Yeah, well, I was in the quali session the other night with Cameron, and I watched also Cyric, and both of those guys actually pulled off some pretty good lap times. I can sort of confirm, I don't think that Chris actually had any slip in most of his actual qualifying, but I think the other guys may have had a little. But either way, I think it's going to be a case of whether Chris can keep the scissors away from his tyres and keep them together for the full 39 laps.
Yeah, totally agree. That Lambo is an absolute beast, but it is also a beast on its tyres. It can shred them if you're not careful. I'm sure Fixer Chris has got the skills to be able to do that, but it'll be good to see what he can pull out tonight. He's relatively new to the league, has seen a couple of streams, so it'll be good to put him in the spotlight and just see what he's able to pull off. Like you mentioned, I think Cameron J here set a really good qualifying time, as did Ace Rio. So those guys are starting towards the front, both on the front two rows. So yeah, it'll be very interesting. We've got a totally different group of cars here as well, being a couple of Lambos, what looks like to be an older Aston, an Audi, Supra, all sorts. So there's definitely going to be some good battling and different times, different vehicle paces as well. So
yeah,
certainly.
I was going to say, I wouldn't put it past Chris if he does seem to build, or if he gets himself a decent lead by midway of the race. I think we might see some show driving, maybe a little bit of drifting in the Lambo with some worn tyres.
Yeah, I think that's almost a given the Lambo is a very much a hard car to handle. I think Gran Turismo does the mid-rear drive vehicles a bit of a dirty move when you think about it. They're really quite quick and well mannered in real life, but in Gran Turismo it just feels like they're, well, at least for me, they're impossible to drive. And I'm sure I'll be showing up as these boys will put on a cracking show for us. And
the other thing, I suppose, we'll focus on as we get into, or midway through the race, is what everyone's strategy is. Obviously, some of these guys, we don't know how much practice they've done and how thirsty some of those cars are going to be. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not it's a 3-4, or as we just saw, a 5-stop strategy. So it'll be interesting. Yeah,
absolutely. The pit loss around here is absolutely huge. About 45 to 50 seconds if we get underway and only do 4 stops. Then yeah, you're really minimising that. But if you're doing your 5 or 6 because you're using that much more fuel or tyres or whatever else, then it can certainly pay dividends to just slow down that little bit and just conserve your tank of fuel.
Yeah, and it might be a ploy as well for some of the guys if they do get themselves a bit of a distance between themselves and the car behind, and the tyres are starting to wear. It might be worthwhile. They might try to change up their strategy, come in for a bit of a splash with some new tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, slip can also pay a big dividend here in terms of fuel saving. So if there's somebody that's just quicker than you and you can stick in their slip for most of the lap, or most of the race even, then yeah, it can absolutely change up your strategy and make you think on your feet as well.
Yeah.
Alright, let's kick things off, boys. 90 minutes, 39 laps coming up.
Good luck, gentlemen. Last race of the season. See what you can do.
Yeah, definitely keen. We've also got a couple of different people starting on different tyres. Sorry, we've got Fixer starting on the mediums, even though he's 39 laps. That's a classic host error. I've only set it at 2 laps at the moment. Everyone's going to need a tick out, and we'll have to get that restarted. So here I am trying to get everyone to be on time, and it's blown up in my face. So thanks to Chris for pointing that out.
And we've had a couple of comments in the chat whether there are any more Milo awards. We didn't actually prepare any beforehand, but I can guarantee you before the end of the race I will be handing out a few.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of the Milo awards. What's the go there?
I think it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek slap in the face to the Milo boys from some of the crash and bash that we've unfortunately experienced during the season with having four of us in the same split in just about most races, trying to avoid each other and team up has not worked out as well as with in most races. So I think it's become a bit of a talking point for the league, which I don't think we mind. I think it's been good. It's season 8, and people are saying that they can't remember the last time that a livery has had so much coverage.
Or the last time a team has taken itself out so often.
If you end up with 4 people in a lobby, we talk about it all the time here, and no matter how many times you think about the long game and just try and get the best race time overall for everyone involved, you see red as soon as you're behind a car. You're like, I need to be in front of you. I don't care if you're a teammate, I don't care who you are, we're going to race and we're going to do battle. Unfortunately, that does sometimes mean that you are going to come off second best, and I think we've just really picked on that and pointed it out more often than not.
Yes, well, being an insider, I can confirm that I think half of them would have been racing incidents where I think we were just a little too close and judgment had a play in the accident, and the other half were maybe just bad communications between us as a team. But that's racing. When you're going flat chat and you're trying to do your best and you're not trying to lose pace to the guy in front of you or keep a team together in close proximity, things happen.
Oh, look, it is a hard thing too. I find all the time that if you've got a teammate that may be a little bit quicker than you, even come up behind you, and you try and give him room, first thing you're going to do is come off. It's just Murphy's Law.
Yep.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, let's hope things are lined up properly this time. We're going to see everyone line up on the grid for the third time, technically, but second time on race format. So everyone's ticked in, everyone's lined up. Grid looks good to me. I think we stick up the front for the start of this, Dodgy. We're certainly going to see how Chris gets away on those mediums and see if he can manage the rest of the field behind him.
No worries. We're there.
Beautiful. Everyone's lined up. We're hearing some revs gain. I can't see any lights, so the starting is going to be a surprise for me.
Yeah,
it's looking prolonged. Here we go.
And we're out. Everyone's dropped the hammer. We're off. Chris does get a really good start. He's already got a half a second lead on most people. The Supra's not the best off the line, as we see Rio covering Cameron there. He goes a little bit wide on corner exit. Chris has got a great run out already as we make our run down to Eau Rouge and Radion.
And as they head down, Rio's just in front of Cameron, but Chris has already pulled out a good almost second gap, which I had to say is probably a little bit surprising. I thought he might have it by the third, maybe the fourth corner, but and it's being chipped away at now by the Supra. Is well within a third of a second.
Yeah, the Supra top end speed is just absolutely reeling Chris in. Chris nearly got out of the slipstream zone with the gap out to about 8/10, but Rio's been able to pull that right back in. Both of these cars are fantastic around corners as well, so probably not going to see much of a split between the top three at the moment. Also in the background, Footner in fourth. He's making a quick run up the field. He started dead last as he wasn't able to put in a quali time. He's already jumped up and he's only a couple of seconds off of this lead pack. So if those guys want to do battle, then they're certainly going to invite Footner into the mix. He's making his one appearance of the season and he's certainly no slouch.
That's a great start from the back of the pack. The only thing that I have no information on at the moment is the Audi R8. No one's been in it for the whole season, so really don't know how it's going to perform against these other cars that we've had a little bit of experience in watching. But at the moment, he's doing a great job to hang at the back of them.
Yeah, honestly, I think it comes down to personal preference. A lot of people don't like the Audi due to our tyre and fuel settings that we run in wheel-to-wheel and the fact that we run on softs and or mediums. Apparently the Audi is one of the best cars on hards, just due to the way the car and the tyre modelling system works, but apparently it turns to dirt on softs. So if he's been able to manage it, then, certainly is a quick car.
Well, it's not at even the end of the first lap, but it looks like we may actually end up with three distinctive groups here. Ooh, he got pretty wild out there, MCDC, almost outside the track limits.
Yeah, we've seen Rio and Cameron up the front as well. They're going toe-to-toe for the second position through the bus stop for the first time. Cameron looks to just lose out on the exit speed as we head down into turn 1.
Yeah, this is great, actually. To have three cars right next to each other after lap 2, it looks like we might have a bit of an exciting race on for the for the end. We'll have to wait and see how the strategies and tyres go, of course, but this is looking promising for a pretty exciting race.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It actually looks like it's going to provide some battling here for us. Rio's got a fantastic run down Camel as well. That top end speed of the Supra. I'm not sure if these boys know each other or not. I have a feeling there's some connection there, but I'm honestly not sure if there is. So they may be working together. We're not seeing too much battling or too many dives and moves this early on. But understanding Chris is also on mediums, so he might just be trying to damage mitigation and leave that as best as he can for the remaining race on Sauce.
And just quickly touching back on the group behind, MCDC seems to have got a run on Footnote down Kimmel Straight, and he's taken 4th position. And Gip is now starting to close the gap, as is Cyric and Slutty Bar, so that group may start to condense in the next few laps.
Yeah, drivers certainly trying to figure themselves out on race pace. Myself personally, I find qualifying actually surprisingly tough, and for some reason have never been able to put together a good lap this season. So sometimes you qualify better than you can race, and sometimes you qualify worse than what you can race. So seeing the field jumble around is certainly going to be where everyone sits for overall pace. Although, interesting to note, Gimp is on mediums, and he's not that far. As I point that out, he's in 6th place and just picked up a half-second penalty somewhere. And he is on mediums, so he was doing well to keep with that group, but unfortunately burning that penalty as quickly as he can there, as per the rules, which is great to see. But yeah, he's going to lose a spot to Cyric there in the BMW.
So Cyric also on mediums, and Slutty Bar and Viper Fang at the back is the only one on softs in that group. And up the front, we've got Rio, who's now pulled out a 1.3 second lead. He's on the softs, of course, so it's not surprising given his lap time, but that will come back together, I think, when Chris gets back on the softs again.
It will. It's something that is interesting to note is where Rio is shifting. He is shifting about halfway through the rev indicator bar at the top of what he would see. So it does net some pretty high speeds down the straights in the Supra, and at the same time saves a bit of fuel. So I'm questioning if he's going to go for an 8-lap stint here, as he has used about a quarter of a tank, which is just a touch more than what Cameron and Chris have used.
Yeah, and on top of that, his tyres start to, well, looking like they're starting to, it's the beginning of the 3rd lap, and they're a little bit more worn than you'd probably like them to be at this stage of the race. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not he does, as we said, come in, get some fresh tyres, and look at doing a few more stops than we'd expect.
Yeah, and honestly, if he's going to be doing an extra stop, or potentially even 2, he's really going to want to pick the pace up. You would need honestly 3 to 4 seconds a lap quicker than your rivals around you to be able to make an extra pit stop work. You see about 45 to 50 seconds pit loss around here, actual time on track. So it really depends on what he's trying to do. He could possibly go a super long stint on the mediums. They do wear slightly better, but honestly, it's interesting to see the gaps open up already and what strat is going to fit in.
We've got a great battle back here at the moment, guys, between MCDC, Cyric and Footner. Footner's taken 4th again from MCDC. These guys are not holding back.
No, not at all.
Gipman seems to have lost his position to Cyric as well, so he might be falling off there a little. He's on the mediums, of course, and Cyric's on the softs. Oh no, MCDC's on the softs, sorry. Cyric's on the mediums.
Yeah, so Footner's being helped out of here a little bit with Cyric and MCDC going toe-to-toe. Those guys are on different tyres, so Gimp's run very wide there on the mediums. He's struggling to find that extra grip. He's going to have dirty tyres. No, he pulls it up just in time for the run through the bus stop. Going too wide between Cyric and MCDC. It's shuffling for position. BMW is tough to get out of tight corners as well, so I think Gimp's going to have Cyric here as we run down to turn 1 once again. No, Cyric has got the inside line here. He's going to try and hold position. So that's fantastic under brakes.
Yeah, that's a great comeback. He didn't go into that corner very well at all, and Gimpman pulled out nearly a 3-car length gap, and he's brought it back before the next corner. That's a pretty good effort.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Gimp's going to be all over the back of Sirik through this Erosion Radion section as the run down Camel Straight. Slighty Bar's really lapping this up though. He's just within the slipstream and probably going to be looking to save a bit of fuel in that Mustang. It's been not the greatest car historically on fuel usage, so even though he is in the slip, he's used relatively... Yeah, he's used a touch more than the drivers around him, so again, be interesting to see when they come in.
Yeah, Footner is doing a lot, or a little worse than Chris is on his fuel as well in the Lambo as well. So it looked like he might be coming in a little bit earlier than what we might have thought as well. A little bit rough there around that corner.
It really is. On that note, there is nearly 3.7 seconds worth of a gap between Rio and Chris. It's just come down to about 3.6 now. So, yeah, Rio really putting that hammer down. Hasn't really used that much more fuel compared to Chris now. So he may have just built that lead and has now settled into a groove to concentrate on fuel use and bring that number right back. Because he's gone a 10th purple as well. So really consistent time so far.
And Cap, just to get back onto the point that you were making about how much time you need if you're going to do that extra pit lap going off the last race, I think that it was between 35-40 seconds. You need at least to make sure you can at least get out in front of the guy that's coming up behind you. And as you said, that at the moment he's not making enough time to build that gap.
Yeah, it's a really big ask. You certainly can do quicker lap times around here if you are, obviously, if you're not fuel saving or tyre saving, but the delta or the difference between a quick lap and a fuel save lap is just not great enough to be able to actually really take effect. So it will be interesting to see. These guys, all three front runners now have clean air, so there's no extra slipstream advantage either. Footner's coming under 5, MCDC again in 4th. Oh, there's a little tap there. I mean, the Lambo doesn't need any help to go around and get that tail end sliding, but that's going to hurt MCDC in the long run. He does back off immediately and make sure that position's redressed, which is great sportsmanship to see. Gives Footner a bit of a slidey run through Radion as well. Footner's rear tyres are really starting to wear as well, so I think the lack of practice in that Lambo is hurting his tyre management. He could potentially have a bad brake bias too, so that's also going to wear the rears much quicker. Too wide. Footner's late on the brakes. Oh, 3 wide,
Three
mate.
wide.
But then see, Footner decides to bail out of that and rejoin the track just ahead of the other drivers. I think that's a smart move overall. You're not going to make it 3 wide through that section of the course.
Yeah, it's questionable now whether or not he doesn't look like he got a penalty for that. So is it a case of should he have given the position back, given it?
Footner doing the drift show right there. Honestly, I think that position has been given right back there.
Oh, there you go.
The hassle with that is, should he have gone off track to save that position? He's still getting wild in the background. Should he have gone off track and given those positions back? Maybe. Was he pushed wide? Maybe. Sometimes Gran Turismo does recognise that and is lenient on track limit penalties, which seems to be the case right now.
Well, I think Footner just needs to steady himself here and get his head back in the racing space, because the last 3 corners, and there we are again. He's not coping with the fact that his tyres are starting to really drop off.
Yeah, the 5 laps in, the rears are showing a bit more tyre wear than what you would like. Unfortunate for him that he has dropped right to the back of the field now, just really struggling to keep that Lambo in a straight line.
Yeah, well, they weren't that bad at all until those consecutive slides he did, which have really put some red on those tyres.
Yeah, it really does take the life off of them. You even spin once, or like you say, do a couple of slides, and it just takes that extra edge off them, and you're not prepared to try and deal with the slow degradation of your tyres. Jumping back out front though, Rio has brought out to about a 5.4 second lead. His times have been incredibly consistent, all in the mid to low 16s on race pace. He's just ducked under half a lap of fuel, so it actually looks like he's going to be able to go for 10 laps here.
There's some pretty quick times there in race trim. That's pretty impressive.
And being able to go for 10 laps, maybe by the look of his fuel. He could be doing a 9-lap stint on softs and doing the 10 on mediums. Not sure just yet, but seriously, that's some fantastic pace.
Yeah, well, Chris has done pretty good on on fuel at the moment. His tyres are mediums, of course, so they haven't dropped off too far. But it's going to be a case of, as we said, the tyre wear versus the fuel.
Yeah, it really is a massive balancing act, and I think Chris is doing a bang-up job of that at the moment. He's been sitting in the mid-17, so ultimately only a second a lap slower than Rio in front, leading the group. So even though he's not in front and the gap is becoming larger, I think Chris is still in a fantastic position here. He's on his mediums too, and he's only doing a lap slower than what Rio is on softs.
Yeah, 17s, and I think he's only had 118 there, but the rest have all been 17s on mediums. That's damn impressive.
Yeah, there was a bit of jostling for position in the opening couple of laps too. So we'll let the 18s slide and just focus on the 17s.
Well, the middle gap, the middle group seems to have spread out a little bit. Well, there's about a second to 2 seconds between most of the cars that were bumper to bumper. They seem to have all spaced out a little bit now. Of course, there's mixed tyres in that group as well. And surprising is that Sirik and Gimp, who are on mediums, are the two that are leading that pack for MCDCs on softs, and Viperfang is also now moved up into 7th from last place, also on softs. And Slarty Bar, he must have had a bit of an out there somewhere. I'm looking at his lap times, but he doesn't look like to have anything that's outside his average.
And,
no, it's actually good to see... Sorry, Dodgy, go.
Oh, you're right. I was just going to say, I think Footner is pretty much running on rims at the moment, so...
Yeah, the tyres are starting to wear that a little bit more. I think he's had some more slides while turning right there, as his left outer left rear is noticeably more worn than his other side. But it is a right-handed biased track. But yeah, it is actually good to see Viper's Fang starting to move through the field as well, starting to take advantage of the softs versus the mediums. He's picked up a couple of spots and he's running in 7th.
And this is a dilemma for Footner. You don't really want to come in even though your tyres are gone. You've probably got about possibly 2, maybe 3 if he stretches it out left, which is exactly where you want to be for your pit stop. So you don't want to be bringing it earlier. So it's a case of him just managing his tyre wear at the moment. He just needs to take a second off his lap times. And of course, a couple of seconds after your first stint is a lot better than coming in for a full pit stop.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Looking at his fuel, I don't see him going much past 8 as a total stint count. So will be interesting if he comes in on 8 or decides to try and make it out to 9 laps.
He's not helping himself there by pushing it around the corner.
Yeah, Rio back up the front, pulling out nearly a 7-second lead, so that is increasing consistently by about a second a lap. Lap 6 was a 16.8 from Rio and a 17.9 from Chris, so both of them still very consistent in those respective second gap time frames. And yeah, fuel wise, Chris is absolutely on point here.
Yep, and at the moment the R8's he's not looking too bad at all on fuel. It's probably the best of all the cars, even though his tyres look to be on par with Rio at the moment. But he's a good nearly 2 seconds off the lap times that Rio's doing. So he's not showing the pace that the guys at the front have got. He's definitely lost the slip from Chris a couple of laps back.
Yeah, he definitely has. But like you say, yeah, he's doing really well on fuel. I'm not sure if that's him or the R8. As we have historically not seen many people, if anyone at all, using the R8 within our wheel-to-wheel standings. So maybe the R8 is just that good on fuel.
So why is that? I would have thought it's a pretty pacey sort of a car. Is it just a bit unwieldy, hard to control? Or
yeah, it's very similar to the Lambo. Not many teams tend to pick it up. Again, coming back to my comments at the start of the stream with the mid-rear cars, I feel they've been done dirty in Gran Turismo. You play, Assetto Corsa or some other sim games where mid-rear cars like the Ferrari, the Lambo, the Porsche. I mean, Porsche's pretty good in Gran Turismo, but they just tend to oversteer at the snap of your fingers, as we've seen with Footner at the helm there. But overall, I've not actually driven the R8 all that much myself, so if that's the only reason, potentially, it might just be off pace, but I mean, Cameron's doing a pretty good job of that at the moment, so he might be able to change the stigma behind the car.
Well, now that there's a slight gap between the cars at the moment, I'll take the opportunity to throw in our first ad hoc Milo award. And that award will go to the Shake and Bake team for showing everyone how not to skip assist each other during a qualify session, with one of the most woeful performances of how to help your teammates, which could possibly be on par with the Milo race team efforts. So the shout out there and the Milo award to the Shake and Bake team for race qualify assist.
Oh, what a fantastic award to be handing out. I a little bit lost for words. It's a great way to put a cap on on their efforts during qualifying. I know they weren't too happy with it overall. Honestly, I wasn't overall very happy with it. Oh, jumping back up the front, Rio has just ducked into the pits on the end of lap 8. He's still probably got another lap worth of fuel left, so he might be going for the five stop stint here, or 5 stint strategy.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually, because his lap time only dropped by what looks to be about 0.6 of a second with an extra lap left in there. You would have thought that he would have gone the 9. Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, it's curious, because that throws the 10-lap stint option pretty much out of whack. You'd have to do an 11 lap here, which is a big ask on a tank of fuel. But yeah, so jumping back to our prior conversation, I wasn't overly impressed with quali, so I'll leave the further comments of Shake and Bake out of it. But look, fantastic award to be handing out.
Yes, well, I'll admit now that we did burn a little bit of Milo grains in front of a Shake and Bake banner. We also burnt a little bit of Nesquik for the Dam Boys, but that didn't seem to work as well.
We've got Footner and MCDC in too, by the look of it, fellas.
Good spotting there, Dodge. He's on the visuals, catching everyone jump into the pits on the end of lap 8. So I dare say these guys will continue to do 8-lap stints with, I believe it to be a 9 on the mediums to round things out to get to a round number 39.
Footner, I can't see what his fuel is, but I can't see anything on the gauge at all.
Footner would have been coming in on absolutely nothing by the looks of it, so either timed that really well or just had to eke that last lap out to get to the pits in the end.
Well, you'd expect now that he's had a feel for how the tyres perform. I'm expecting he's going to, excuse me, make his way back through the field.
Well, he's had the chance to have a chat on YouTube. Maybe he's got the chance to jump in and tell us how he's going so far. Footner, are you there, mate?
Unfortunately, yes.
Good evening, Footner. Welcome to the Comms channel. Coming to us live from the hot seat. He's just running down Camel Straight, so quick second of how your race is going. I think this sums up, what, lap 9 of practice for you?
That's correct, yep. Well, I had that 2-lap practice before, and I had an off on both laps. So my plan was just to dial it back, and then I saw some other cars, and I'm like, no, let's go racing. And that's not gone well for me.
It always comes back to that age-old, you see a car in front, and you need to get in front of them. It's just that racer's spirit. So good to see that is alive and kicking, but unfortunately the tyre wear has not been your friend at this point in time. So tell us, have you played around with your brake bias? Is that something that's that was off earlier on?
It's 5 to the front.
It is 5 to the front. I'm impressed. I don't know how you drive with 5 to the front, let alone try and manage those tyres. And maybe we should stop talking to you. We've pushed you off track a couple of times there.
I don't think it's going to help the case, really. I'm a lost cause at the moment. I'm not enjoying this, but I'm going to stick it through because I've set myself to it.
I was going to say, you got 5 to the front, and it's really chewing up your back wheels, mate.
Yeah, it's just I've forgotten how to drive. I think just losing the rear everywhere. Chewing
comes back to my earlier comments. The fact that Gran Turismo, I feel, does these cars dirty. They shouldn't be this hard or this bad on tyres. So.
They shouldn't be this hard to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Although having said that, Chris is doing a fantastic job out in front.
I heard he was only doing 17, so that's a bit slow.
You should step it up a little bit. On the topic of pit stops, though, Sirik in 5th has just come out of the pits. Viper's Fang and Slartibar are also doing what looks to be their 9-lap stint on mediums, getting them out of the way. So, if anything, they should be running 10 laps to the end.
And Chris is we'll see him in on this lap here. He's starting to do some fishes around some of those corners, and his lap times have dropped off by a good second there. He's moved from the 17s into the 18s clearly.
Yeah, he has. Anyway, thanks for jumping in real quick. We'll probably touch base with you later on in the race there, Fortner.
No dramas, mate. I'll be here.
Perfect.
Probably
So,
for
yeah,
a couple
Chris-
of minutes longer than everyone else.
Plenty of time. You set yourself a goal, and I like the fact that you're going to stick it through and see the race out. Alright, so Chris coming through bus stop, he's flicking into the pits now, so he's got a 11.5 second lead on Cameron. He's going to be in the same spot. His tyres are actually looking pretty even front to rear. Fuel could possibly go another lap. No, he's pulled in as well.
Yeah, I'd expect that looking at his tyres. He must be feeling it. He's also about 2 seconds off his best as well now.
Yeah, so looking at the 10% remaining, I actually think Cameron would be good to go for 11 laps on a tank of fuel. So I wonder if he's just fantastic at managing that, or again, the Audi is actually quite a good car on fuel.
Yeah, so Chris is on the same lap, so I'm imagining that they'll have 2 more stints left each, but whether Rio can actually do something to, as we said, to build that 35-40 second gap, we'll have to wait and see how he comes around. He is down the straight now. We'll have
It
to wait for the
really
other
is
guys
a
to come
mammoth task, isn't it? Just setting yourself a lead of 35-40 seconds to be able to, possibly even more, to be able to stay out in front and control this race. So Chris is just coming out of the pit exit now. Rio is 15 seconds, 14 and a half seconds and counting. Might end up by about 15 by the time Chris is up to speed. So 1 stop down, out to about 15. It's honestly not too bad of a setup there, but again, a couple of more stints. It's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be close. I'm going to call it early and say that these guys might be head to tail come the last stint.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they go now, because Chris is on the soft, so whether or not it stays at 15, comes down or increases, it's going to be interesting to see now. But once again, on the point you just made, if he'd been in and out of the lobby, then it looks like he probably would have been able to actually carry it through. But he's got Chris, one of the fastest guys in wheel-to-wheel that we've seen recently, which makes it an even grander task to try to pull off.
Yeah, that is a good point. They're both on softs now and are both going to be setting probably similar lap times. I wonder if Ace Rio is able to use that fuel burn to his advantage and still eke it out. But yeah, that's a very good point, the fact that Rio still has his medium stint to go, so he's going to be that little bit slower than what Chris is. Chris has really got to, even though he's not leading the race, he's still got to keep a calm head and just race his own race, realising that strategy has a long time to play out still. It's only lap 11 to 39.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, that we're so used to racing the 2 sprints and the slightly medium race, that when you get into something that's an hour and a half longer, sometimes you lose yourself and you do things that in the long run, when you look back in hindsight, you think, I could have just eased off there, I could have lost a second. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they can keep their heads.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rio has just crossed the line for a 15.9, fastest lap of the race, first one in the 15, so he's definitely not hanging about. Gap out to about 15.8 seconds at the moment. Chris is rounding the bus stop, coming through in second place still. He is not going to be able to better that time. Oh no, that's his outlap. Apologies.
Yep.
This will be his first fly now.
But going off the distance, I think it was around 15.5, 0.6, so he hasn't lost that much at all. And his lap time must have been not too bad compared to Rio's. But yeah, we'll have to wait till the next one to see a timed lap.
Yeah, comparing their outlaps, Rio did a 2:11.4, Chris did a 2:10.9. So half a second potentially gained there by Chris on his outlap. Although having said that, the gap at the moment is nearly 16 seconds, just over 16 seconds now. That Supra really showing its pace in the hands of Rio.
Starting to pull away. Just move back through the field, and the closest we've got Viperfang and Slarty Bar, who's still got a bit of distance between each other. Then it's just about to turn into the main straight. but most of the guys have got a couple of seconds in between them. The field's pretty well spread, and it's time for another ad hoc Milo award. And this time, to offset the previous award, we're going to give a Milo award to the team that performed the best in qualifier slip assist, which would have been the Milo team. I'm a little bit biased there, but I think the guys did a pretty good job. Could have been a little bit better, but still there were no accidents, and that's why they get the Milo award.
Oh, look, clean racing, whether it's quali or in actual race settings, is definitely something to admire. So, honestly, I think that at the potential flame, I've got my flame suit on from Team Shake and Bake. I think you guys have definitely learned from your mistakes and have pulled it together. So, how many of you guys are in the lobby next weekend? Is it the same deal that you've got 3 or 4 drivers in the one race?
So I believe that Evil's been bumped to split 3, so you'll have myself, Touchy and Spence in split 2, so there'll be 3 of us in at this time.
There you go. So you guys no doubt will be trying to work together if you end up seeing each other on track, and fingers crossed you can keep that qualifying effort up and continue that through the race. So I think that'll be a fantastic strategy to hold out for 39 laps.
Yeah, well, if I give anything away, that it'll be that is the fact that doing that qualify and preparing may actually put us in good stead for the race, given the fact that we've got a bit of a strategy if we do get together, and it seemed to work pretty well for qualifying. And like you said, if we're close enough, I'm assuming that we will actually be performing the same sort of manoeuvres. But hopefully we might be able to see ourselves a little bit closer to the front than we normally would. But once again, it all comes down to usually the first few laps to see how things sort of pan out.
Yeah, definitely. What you can't account for is how many other drivers are on track. I'm sure there's going to be a few people that will want to throw themselves in the mix and potentially mess up your strategy. So it again comes down to that fact of there's a car in front of me and I've got to be in front of it. So yeah, the red flag will drop and everyone's care factor will probably go flying out the window.
Yep, and on that point, the third Milo award, ad hoc Milo award, goes to ZD, and it's the Milo Photobomb Award. ZD did a great job of getting in between the Milo cars during qualifier session and ruined our team photo. So well done, ZD. You also get a Milo tin, mate.
Yeah, congratulations there to ZD for being a photobomb and a dive bomb of the session. So, I'll be honest, not uncommon of ZD to throw it down the inside and see if he can outbrake the opponents around him. But again, good throwing the damn racing vehicle in there and really messing up their photo. I like it.
Yeah, it was a bit of good fun towards the end.
Yeah, yep. Isn't it always
Cup style?
Yeah, that's right.
He lives and breathes it. So just an actual race update. Ace, Rio and Chris, they're still sitting about 15.5 seconds behind each other. Between each other. Lap 12 was a 2:16.43 from Rio, and lap 12 from Chris was a 2:16.42. So really, really close between those two. Just a 100th between them. Rio has just crossed the line with a 16.5. Chris is coming down to the bus stop. We'll see what he can put in. That gap is stuck to about 15.6 seconds at the moment. He has a great drive out of the bus stop.
And Captain, as you said, Rio's yet to come on his medium, so you can't help but think that if it stays at this distance, he's gonna bridge that gap when Rio gets on his mediums, and they're gonna be side by side, and the only difference is going to be is whether or not there's an extra pit.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So I think Rio's really set himself in stone to do the 5-stint or 4-stop strategy. That gap, even though he's being able to manage pace, he is down on lap count for his stints. So ultimately, going to be down on overall race pace. Those two, with Chris probably closing maybe 2/10 between the last lap and this lap. So again, just really being able to manage it. It's interesting to see the delta. It's actually up to about 16 seconds at the moment. So maybe the Super is just that little bit more capable and planted through Sector 2, which is the twisty section of the course, versus Chris in that Lambo with an absolute monster top end. They're able to pull that lap time back as we get to the fastest sections of the course.
And I think this is Chris's 5th lap, I think it is. Or is it his 4th lap on these tyres?
This would be his.
Did he come in a 9 or 10?
So he would have come in at the end of 10. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, they're not looking too great for 4 laps in. We'll see what happens when they start to. It's one thing being on mediums; they hold up a little bit more towards their end of their life. But whether or not he can pull out the same sort of or close to lap times with the tyres really falling off in their later half.
Yeah, definitely. It's one thing to be consistent when you don't have to worry about tyre wear, but it's another thing being consistent when they do start to drop off. And exactly as you say, the mediums do tend to hold on just that little bit longer. The softs do hit a wall pretty quick, and your lap times do start to suffer as a result. So the gap, though, having said that, is down to 14.8. So first time it's been under 15 in quite a few laps between these two drivers.
And while there's spread, we might just quickly go through the field. So we've got Ace Rio up in front with just under 15 seconds gap back to Chris, who then has a 18.5 second gap back to Cameron, who has a just under 9 second gap back to Zurich.
Apologies, caught me napping there. There's about a 10.5 second between Zurich and Gimp. It's a long race. I was actually just taking a real quick swig of my glass of water and got caught out. So yeah, bit of a gap between Zurich and Gimp, man. It's been sitting at about 10.5 seconds at the moment. Gimp coming through the bus stop chicane in 6th. Fantastic looking pug there. That's, again, not a very commonly chosen car, but he's been running with it pretty much his whole season. He's been a privateer within Wheel to Wheel and has certainly shown its pace. He's no slouch. Following Gimp is MCDC, about 6.8 seconds at the moment. I actually think that's been closing as the race has gone on. Need to pay a little bit more attention. He gets super squirrely out of turn 1 as he tries to run down the hill and get a great drive. Following him is Viper's Fang, just under 10 seconds behind. Viper's Fang's doing a crack-up job in that Lexus. It's not the best at anything, but it is the best at everything. Oh, sorry, it is the good at everything. Spent 2 seasons in that Lexus, and it's got a special place in my heart. Just have to, mix things up a little bit and not race it every season. But following him, just under 5 seconds, about 4.5, is Pony Express in Slartibar at Mustang. He's actually not doing too bad for fuel. What lap did he come in at? End of lap 9. It might be looking like he's doing an 8-lap stint here on his fuel, potentially less, as we know that car's not great on its fuel. Lucky last there is Footner. He's being able to manage that gap from the back of the field. His tyre wear's looking a little bit more even this time as well, and he's been setting fastest lap 2:19.5. A little bit off the pace from where he would like to be, but given the fact that he's done, what would it be, 17 laps worth of practice now, he's doing pretty good if you ask me.
Keep it going, Footner. And Dodgy, just making sure that you're still there and haven't fallen asleep. This must be your easiest visuals event so far. There's been nothing to replay at the moment.
It's it's been pretty good. We're trying to file through and see who we can keep an eye on. I just maybe we could throw a Milo boy in there somewhere just to create an accident and group him up a bit. I don't know whether we can throw out the invite, but hey. Or as we've just seen, Ace Rio get a 1.4 second penalty.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah, I was on with him as well. I'm not sure where he's picked that penalty up. He did pick up a penalty earlier in the lap, potentially towards the end of his last lap, and then picked up another possible 1 second as he came through Eau Rouge and Ray Dion. Not sure. He is a brand new member to Wheel, so I'm not sure if he's completely up to scratch on our rules and settings. He should be burning that immediately. But
just
again,
about
I think
to
he's
mention.
only joined in the last week. So
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, Cap. I think we might have moved right past it. Dodgy, we wouldn't be able to get a replay of that, would we? It's too far
it'd be
moved.
too late now.
Yeah, okay. Yep, he's definitely driving around ignoring the penalty, so maybe he didn't read all the rules.
yeah, depending on when he joined, we do try and give it a little bit of a leeway. There is a decent amount of rules and regs within our league, so it would be great to see that new members are up to scratch on what they need to do mid-race. But again, if he's only been in the last couple of days, it's definitely his first round racing, so maybe a bit of a leeway there for him. But Chris is certainly no slouch and no stranger to the rules. He's been able to pull that gap down to under 14 seconds now, sitting about 13.7. Really starting to hit that groove on the softs. He's been in the mid to low 16s this entire stint, so really being able to manage that tyre wear and fuel burn too.
Yeah, well, I think I keep saying it, but every time Chris finishes a race, I think we should just remove the helmet, just check to see he's got 5 fingers, not 3, and hasn't got oversized eyeballs, just to make sure he is human, because, yeah, that's just phenomenal.
He's an absolute rocket ship. We've certainly got to make... Oh, we see Ace as well, in on lap 16, so he's sticking to the 8-lap stints by the looks of it. So it's going to hand the lead back to Chris, as we see the first jump in strategy has given us a driver change for the lead.
Which means that we're not expecting Chris back in for at least the next 5 laps, so... What's his? I haven't seen what his tyres look like. Oh, geez, they're not looking too great at the moment with 4 laps to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems the softs do tend to burn quite a lot more on the Lambo than what the mediums do. Again, it might be coming back to that tyre strategy, algorithm within Gran Turismo that the Audi is quite good on hards, but it can turn to crap on softs. Maybe that is the case here with the Lambo.
Luckily for Chris, I can say that the Lambo handles brilliantly on worn softs.
There you go. Footner with the surprise update. Footner's fun facts. The Lambo is potentially quite good on worn softs.
So I'm just looking at his fuel as well, and I can't remember, but he's got 4 laps to go, and he's a little bit, he's just outside, in between the half and the quarter. I'm just wondering, has he got enough there to do the 4 laps to get him to the 20 mark?
He would need to be going to the 21 mark. No, sorry, he would be needing to go to the 19 mark. When did he come in? At end of lap 10? Oh no, he went 10 on a set of mediums. See, he's throwing things out. So maybe this is a 9-lap stint on softs, trying to just make sure he gets the jump on Rio and make sure he stays out in front.
So we got Footner and MCDC in the pits at the moment. We've got Slarty Bar still trying to make inroads on Viper Fang, but Viper Fang seems to have made a bit of a break now, so Slarty Bar doesn't seem to be reeling him back in at all.
No, the tyre wear between those two is very close, so interesting to see the difference between those two cars, being the Lexus and the Mustang. Both big V8s, both front rear, very similar setups, both different cars still. Slarty Bar very low on fuel, so I would be extremely surprised to see him do another lap, so you expect to see him in. However, Viper's Fang, I think he's good for this lap and another one.
Another 2, yeah. Yeah, Slarty Bar's tyres seem to be a little bit worse for wear, but as you said, he's probably done an extra 2 laps by the looks of things, so or maybe not actually. They both only pitted once, so I can't recall when Slarty Bar came in.
So Slarty Bar, by the looks of things, came in on the end of lap 9. I did start on medium, so I expect to see him in at the end of lap 19 to round out a 10-lap stint on softs and then continue doing 10s until the end of the race. Viper's Fang is in a very similar position. He started on mediums, came in at the end of lap 9 as well. Gimp doing a solid stint at the moment as well. He's sitting in 5th, really just managing that gap between him. He's been in the mid to low 19s as well this entire stint, with the quickest being an 18.8.
Yeah, so looking at Cameron and Cyric, I reckon that when Cameron needs to get onto his mediums, Cyric might actually catch up to it, and their lap times on the softs are pretty similar. That gap might close up and there might be a race on for 3rd. Yeah,
Cyric is on... What lap is he on? What stint? Sorry, he would be doing 10s by the looks of it.
He came in on 9.
Okay, so he came in on 9. He should be doing 10 to see his strategy out, but looking at his fuel, I don't think he's got this lap and another one available. So again, that's going to throw his strategy out and have to do an 11-lap stint there if he does do it somewhere, or potentially throw in an extra pit stop and maybe do a 1-lap hero lap somewhere.
Yeah, looking at Cameron in the R8, he's just at the quarter mark, so he's got a lot more fuel than Cyric has at the moment, so he's definitely not going to have to make that additional pit stop, so that we may not see that race for 3rd at all.
Yeah, potentially not. A little bit further down the field between 7th and 8th, Slatty Bar and Viper's Fang have just come into the pits. They've both brimmed their tanks. Actually, Slatty Bar's just under a full tank, although that gap has opened up to about 7.2 seconds from what I recall it to be about 5. So Viper's Fang doing that a little bit better on fuel and being able to get a touch more of a jump on the pit stop strategy.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise actually. I thought he might have stayed out for at least one more lap. He had enough fuel left in him, so yeah, to come in a little bit early was a bit of a surprise.
Come in on lap 17 after doing... Yeah, so that would be a 9-lap stint followed by an 8-lap stint, which means he'd have to do a 5-lap stint in there somewhere, potentially, to round things out. So, yeah, going to see another couple of pit stops from Viper's Fang and Slatty Bar. Sirik is also just jumping into the pits on lap 18. So that would also be a 9 and an 8. Oh, sorry, a 9 and a 9. So 2 9-lap stints. Interesting to see. This is all good info for us here, Midrisky and Dodgy. We're going to be racing next weekend, so it gives us plenty of time to analyse and see where everyone fits and try and come up with a race-winning strat.
Yeah, I think one of the main differences is going to be next week between splits 1, 2, and 3 is the fact that you do have the field a lot more compressed with their times, so you will probably going to see tighter racing, and I suppose my expectation there is that there's going to be more pressure put on drivers. Drivers are going to make mistakes, so there's going to be a reason to not go as heavy or hard. Knowing full well that it's a long race, you don't want to burn your tyres out, you don't want to drain your tank, and if it is close racing, then someone's going to make a mistake, and you just have to wait to capitalise on the mistake.
Might want to jump on with Rio, guys. He's right up behind Cameron at the moment.
He is too. Closest on-track battle we've seen since the opening couple of laps here. Yeah, good spot there, Dodgy. Cameron and Rio going nose to tail. Rio on much fresher tyres there. Cameron looking like he's due to come into the pits potentially this lap, potentially next. He's possibly given a bit of a lift to let Rio past.
Definitely looks like he moved out of the way, yeah.
Yeah, so I reckon those two, same flag, surely they've got to have a friendship relation thrown in the mix there, so maybe a couple of pseudo-team orders. Chris is also into the pits, lap 19, so that's his 10-lap stint done. We're probably going to see a change for the lead once more. Rio just rounding out the bus stop. Chris hasn't even made it to the pit box yet, so he's going to be probably dropping back that 12-13 seconds that we saw before.
And it's probably not a bad ploy for Cameron, just sit in his slipstream, but it looks like he's well outside it now already. His tyres are worn, so he's missed the opportunity to get an extra lap in and save a bit of fuel.
Yeah, he certainly has. It looks like... What was the lap that he would have come in on lap 10 for Cameron. He's doing 10 lap stints to round things out. Well, he's very squirrely through.
That's got to be a penalty.
Oh, Rouge, surely that's got to be a track limit penalty.
There it is.
It is. 1 second. I wonder if he's also... He's another brand new member to our league, hence the lobby and the stream being called E League. It's what we call Entrance League. New drivers, we don't always know their pace, so it's difficult to assign them to lobbies that auto-populate based on the driver's pace level. So we try and match people as quickly as they can, so this is why we have these lobbies. We can place them all together, get a good idea of where they sit, and then slot them in for following seasons.
Well, we're just past the midway point, and we've definitely got a battle on, but that battle may disappear once the pit strategies are ironed out by around the 30th lap mark. But at the moment, the guys are setting some cracking pace at the front.
They absolutely are. What's interesting to see is Chris is about 18 seconds behind Cameron, about 20 off of the lead, opening almost up to 21 seconds. Chris sitting there in third, so again that might be getting to his head, and he sees that he's dropping down positions. You really just got to keep his head calm, keep his head clear, understanding that Cameron is going to be in on the end of this lap, so he's going to take back second spot, and then Rio has still got that extra pit stop to do and a stint on mediums. So
yeah, that's a good point, mate. I just looking at the lap times, and it definitely looks like Chris is suffering at the wet tyre wear on the Lambo in those later laps towards the end of his tyre life. And Chris seems to be maintaining a pretty consistent lap, even when they are sort of dying out. So it's turning into a little more interesting than we thought it might have. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I called it earlier, and I could potentially be shooting myself in the foot still, but I reckon they're still going to be closer. And once all of the pit stops have taken place and all of the strategy has worked themselves out on that topic, Cameron is ducked into the pits here on lap 20. Going to hand that second position back to Chris. But yeah, I think once all of the pit stops have sorted themselves out, these two might be closer on track than we might seem.
And I think Gipman's actually made a bit of inroads into Cameron. We'll have to wait to see them come out of the pits, but I think he's got some consistency back in his lap times. They're not quite as quick as Cameron's, but there's not much of a difference between the two. There's 18s and 19s between the two of them, so it'll be interesting to see how these guys also pan out.
You will lose a couple of tenths out of the pits, though. He did use just a fraction more fuel, about 2% more, so he'll be in there just a little bit longer.
Yeah, Gibbs only just had that fuel canister thrown into his fuel point, and Cameron... Gimpman has just had the fuel point dropped in, and Cameron is already out of the pits, making his run down to Eau Rouge for the 21st time. I think that gap is going to be quite large.
He didn't fill up on fuel either, so he hasn't gone full load, so you must have measured exactly how much he needs for his last stint.
Yeah,
or
very
his last
true.
pit. Yep.
Just shy, might be better part of 5 or 6% shy on a full tank of fuel by the time he came out of the pits. So, yeah, good pick up there. Maybe he's just learned the exact amount of fuel that he needs for a stint. He's getting very squirrely there on cold softs, just trying to get some heat into them and warm them up a little bit. So that gap is still sitting about 20.5 seconds between Chris and Rio. Not really much change there, so I don't think we're going to see much until Rio does jump onto the mediums. I don't think that will happen until his final stint. So, actually, yes, he has got another 2 pit stops to go.
Chris has just come around 0.1 purple for the final stretch, or the back straight, so we'll see what this lap time is.
Oh, that's going to be a great opportunity here for Chris to nab the fastest lap. That Lambo again, looking at his mid-corner speed and speed into the braking zone of bus stop, is absolutely flying. It's probably quickest that I have seen in race pace to date. So he gets a great drive out of the bus stop as well, making his run for that line, sticking nice and tight. Oof. Ever so close with a 16.02 to a 15.97. So those guys absolutely matching each other for pace, but Chris is doing it on 10 lap stints versus Rio doing it on 8. I'm super impressed here, and he's definitely going to be one to look out for next season.
I'm just looking at the gap between Cameron and Cyric, which is now closed down to around 5.5 seconds. So those guys have closed up a little bit as well. That BMW seems to be driving it quite well.
Yeah, the BMW is a fantastic car on fuel, and it's a little bit squirrely on corner exits, but it's got heaps of torque being an inline 6 and turbos, so shifting that nice and early gives some fantastic results on the amount of fuel used without actually dropping too much top end speed and too much lap time. So it's definitely an endurance car in this game for sure.
Moving back to 7th and 8th, we got Viper's Fang and Slarty Bar, who are 1.7 apart, and Footner has now closed the gap down as well to 4.5 seconds, catching up on the back of that tail.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the race unfold here between Viper's Fang and Slarty Bar. It was a great pickup. That gap has certainly closed down in the last few laps. With Slarty Bar being in the 19s, Viper's Fang doing some 20s and a 21.0. So interesting to see here. That gap's already closing down to 1.3. I think we might stick on with these guys for a couple of laps and really just monitor this and see if we see a bit of a fight, or maybe these guys are still playing a long game and, Viper's Fang might just say, yep, position's all yours, I'll tuck in behind and save a bit of fuel.
Good call, Captain. It could be minutes before we see any more action.
It's no mean feat by Slarty Bar either in that Mustang. It's commonly been referred to as the brick with wheels through wheel-to-wheel hallways for quite a few seasons, so he's doing a great job to keep up with that Lexus.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Dodgy, you know how good the Lexus is, which, I mean, it's pretty obvious which car you would prefer to be in, but have you spent much time in the Mustang? Is it really that bad?
I tried a bit pre-season. It's not a bad car. Handles well. I don't mind it. The killer is fuel. It is the thirstiest beast almost in the whole garage, that thing. It's tyres and fuel are really hard to manage with the Mustang, the fuel especially. It lets you down so much. You're almost, on a race like this, I'd be a lap or two short, I reckon.
Yeah, it's really highlighting the issues that you've just pointed out there, the difference between some of the cars. And again, I think Gran Turismo does do a few cars a little dirty here. The Lambo and the Ferrari, Dale's done a fantastic job in the Ferrari piloting it this season and doing a fantastic qualifying time as well. But yeah, I think the difference between a few cars is a little bit larger than what they should be, and that Mustang probably suffering just a touch more than it should. Like you say, I've done a little bit of practice in it, not a great deal, but the way it handles and the way it feels is honestly quite nice. But when you throw it in a race pace setting, much like the Beetle, it is just off the pace and it's too hard to try and make it up. That gap is down to just over 1 second now, in between 1 and 1.1, so definitely going to be closing. Viper's Fang really going to be desperate to get that slipstream, which he's actually just closed into. Fantastic corner exit there as they run down to turn 1. Might be looking into a move into Kemmel here.
Yeah, and he's really chewed his tyres up to bridge that gap. The tyre difference between the two guys is definitely showing. But as you said, I think he's going to take Viper's Fang once they get up in Kimmel Straight here. He's too close not to, I suppose. So you'd expect
big lift from Slidey Bar coming through Eau Rouge and up to Radion there, just maintaining that slip. You can't get too close too early. Surely going to see a move here.
Oh, it's going to be close.
He's trying. No, he's gone for the bump. He's gone to try and work together. Maybe he's realised that fuel burn to try and get into that slipstream has cost him just a touch more. Sit behind for a lap, regather, and then maybe try and continue the push on the following lap.
I think that's not a bad strategy at all. You were at lap 23. There's still a fair way to go. So making a pass now and losing a slip buddy when there's a clear advantage to your tyres and fuels, yeah, I think it's a good move. He's made a good decision there.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, highlighting what Dodgy was talking about just before, with the fuel and tyre usage being a little bit higher than what they should, or what they are compared to other cars around. So again, the fronts of Slidey Bar are just that touch worse than Viper's Fang, and he's dropped back to about 0.8 of a second distance through this one sector.
So I've been trying to keep an eye on the stream chat, and the guys are in a conversation about extending the Enduro to 4 hours. Fellas, I know you can hear me, so I will be sending you each the phone number of my doctor, and you can have a chat about your mental stability. It's a good reason why we haven't seen that in the polls, because I'm not quite sure that 4 hours without a break it'll be nightmare. Yeah.
Well, 4 hours in a sim race is definitely getting up there. I know some crazy people do 24-hour races on some different platforms. However, that is split between 3, 4, 5
That's
drivers
right.
at least.
Yeah.
So a 4-hour stint flat out, oof, that's a big ask for anybody, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a hard task.
I mean, an hour and a half. There has been talk of pushing these out to about 2 hours. Again, 2 hours in the hot seat racing your heart out, going flat out is, again, a massive ask. Some people might be able to do it. I don't know if I would be one of them, to tell you the truth. Yeah,
well, I'm the same. I think 2 hours is probably where the limit's at, and even then, it'd be one per season. You couldn't imagine doing more than 1 2 hour race per season. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And if anything, it would have to be the tail end of the season's round 12, just the way that our lobby systems work and our timing between lobbies as well. We do get 2 done in a night, so trying to stream 2 races with a 2 hour really extends that period of time where someone needs to both race and do visuals, such as yourself, Dodgy. So yeah, doing that on round 12 where we do have 2 weekends, look, it's a possibility, but again, a big ask. So staying up the front as well. Sorry, Midrisky, if you were going to say that. Rio's just ducked into the pits.
No, I was just going to say that ZD's just made a comment that I'm the one that needs a doctor, mate. I know that. That's why I've got the number. So I'm happy to hand it out.
He's saying it's a good recommendation, not just
discount for
reading
referrals.
Yeah, look, maybe that's written into his contract. That's one of his targets before he gets let out back into the world again.
I think it was my comment at the last stream. I sneaked out of the asylum during medication hour. So, yes, I'm well versed with the professionals in that field, my friend.
Indeed. The other person that we would need to phone is our respective partners. I'm sure racing for a 2-hour stint, look, even getting a 1.5 hour time slot is a bit of a challenge at times. So pushing that out to 2 hours, oof. It's stretching the friendship there, I think.
Yeah, I can almost feel
point.
the fry pan imprint in the back of my head now.
Getting a bit of a hot flush. I think the daggers have been thrown my way. Alright, so a couple of lead changes. I think the first one of a few here. So Fixer Chris now holding that lead, 25 seconds between Chris and Rio. What are we looking at here? Chris should be for about 4 laps here. Rio has only just come out of the pits on his out lap. MCDC in the background has also just ducked into the pits. So yeah, seeing again a bit of a lead change between those two, understanding that what would they both have? One more stop left. Rio's going to be coming in on, what would it be, lap 33? If my maths is correct. And then running that 5-lap stint to the end. 6-lap stint. I'm getting my numbers out of whack. But either way, they've both got one more stop to do. Chris has got a 24-second lead. Rio's really got to put in some effort here to try and pull that gap down.
And he's yet to go on his mediums, and I'm once again I'm hoping that these guys read the rules and regulations. I hope he doesn't come back out for his final stint on his softs and doesn't do the medium stint at all.
Yeah, look, that is one of the core rules here that we do have, that you have to use mediums and softs in a race. It doesn't matter if you only do 1 lap on the medium, so you do have to do that minimum lap, that minimum stint on a set of the slower tyres. So honestly, there's no 3 weeks given on that ruling. So I would hate to see Rio's first race go that way, but who knows? Plenty of time. Maybe we can give him some good vibes, give him a mental reminder to swap on all those mediums come his next stop.
Yes, and I suppose that being this late, I suppose the repercussions aren't going to be all that harsh, given the fact he's not in a team. It's the last race of the season. And it'll be a good learning curve for him. Make sure he reads the rules next time.
Absolutely, it will. I think there's been an influx of new drivers just in this last week and a half or 2 weeks or so. So
yeah.
I would be surprised if between them they haven't caught up with it. But again, anything can happen, and it's going to be one harsh way to learn, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I think it's great. We were having a bit of a chat with the team the other day that we have seen a few new, very quick drivers joining the league in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I don't think that some of those guys have done enough races, so they probably won't be viable for them to join a particular league early in the season for season. Is it 10? Season 10?
It'll be season 9 coming up.
9.
We're wrapping up season 8. Yep.
But still, it's looking like those top 2 splits are getting faster and faster, and there's a very fine line between the top 5 of split 1 and the bottom 5 of split 2. It's you could be in either any week.
You absolutely could, and there was in seasons gone past there was a little bit more of a clear distinction between top split and second split. Really had to make a few bad races and you'd end up in split 2, for example, or a couple of good races. Now it's really anyone's game. You can cross between both splits really simply, and we call split 2 top split and a half for a reason, because that split has just really excelled in the last couple of rounds.
Fix is in the pits. And Rio is coming.
Back to on track. Viper's Fang and Slidey Bar in the pits as well. They've just come out together. There was about a 1.1 second gap between them as they came in. It's now out to about 1.4. Chris is in the pits. Rio's crossing the start-finish line, so going to be another change of lead as the pit stops work out. Chris just coming up on those jack stands, on the air jacks. Tyres going on, fuel going in.
And Rio just done a 16.2. So yeah, I have to agree with some of the guys on the chats. These guys are pulling off some unbelievable times in race trim, and they're all consistent. They've been doing this for 27 laps now, laps within a second, which is fantastic. Yeah.
One lap after one lap, over and over again. Like, I'm just looking through the last, what would that be, 10 laps that we can see from Rio, and every single one of them, apart from either an in lap or an out lap, has been in the mid 16s or 16.0 or 16.2. I'm genuinely mind boggled. So this is certainly going to show the league admin and the stewards Rio's pace, and that he's not here to mess around.
No, it'll be a good
Chris
addition.
is coming up on Cameron. Yep, just takes him at the top of the straight.
That was close.
That was very close between the two mid-rear runners. It'll be interesting to see these guys. Chris is on some some cold softs, and Cameron is on some worn softs. So those two might be close for a couple of corners, but I think Chris is just going to be able to pull away with it and really start to hunt down Rio again. That gap had about 18.5 seconds, so if anything is to go by, Chris should be going... Actually, yeah, Chris is in on lap 26. That's throwing things into the mix there. He should have been in on lap 29, doing a 10-lap stint to the end.
Yeah,
so he's done a 7-lap stint there somewhere.
It means he's planned for a final. So this is now... It's going to turn into quite an interesting race, yeah.
This is turning it on its head for me, because I predicted that the final stop for Chris would have been on lap 29, seeing another 10-lap stint to the end, but he's cut that short by 2 laps. So unless this is going to be 12, which he's certainly not got the fuel for already, that throws it on its head. Maybe Rio is on the race-winning strat here. Well,
that's a bit of a surprise, actually. I don't know why he would have changed his pit strategy when he was doing 10s. That's interesting.
Wow, yeah, that's honestly, it's thrown the race on its head. Rio with that 18-second lead, understanding that they both now have another pit stop. Chris not being able to pull the strategy up.
He's just crossed the finish line, and that was his out lap. Yeah. Now I don't know whether or not he thinks he's not going fast enough, but even if he was.
Honestly, he could have been a second and a half a lap slower than what he was doing, and still be able to walk away with the lead. So I wasn't on board when he came into the pits. Maybe he's sliding around a touch more, and the rears just caused him some grief. But very, very interesting to see.
No, I didn't pick it up either, and I mean, he's doing 16s as well, so you can't... I don't know whether or not he's thinking he's going to get out there and do 15s. I mean, it'd be crazy to do that consistently. To do 2 laps in a row at 15s would be a mammoth effort, let alone trying to do any more. But the guys just aren't in that category at the moment, besides the fastest lap that was set.
Yeah, it's a very high 15. I mean, by the looks of it, Chris has gone, nah, bugger this. I've had enough of tyre save and fuel save. He's just going to go hard out. But it's honestly, it's not going to be enough. 17 seconds over 11 laps, 12 laps.
Yeah, you did right, mate. There's 2 more stops here, and this is going to be very interesting to see. He's with 17 seconds behind. Yeah, I don't know whether or not Chris has actually made an honest mistake here, or whether or not this was planned.
Maybe. I mean, it's a very tricky pit entrance too, so it's not like you end up there by mistake. It's truly by design. You want to make it into those pits, so these next few laps are going to be very telling, and I'm going to be keen to see where everyone comes out. Maybe the Lambo raw pace is on point, but Chris, I was just on board with him there, and he's 0.26 of a second quickest on purple at the moment for fastest lap.
He's definitely going for it.
Putting that hammer down. Well, look, the gap has been brought down to 17.2 seconds. Honestly, it's either driver's race if Chris can pull this off.
It's going to be so close to see. I mean, and just looking at Rio's times, 16.2, 16.3, 16.5, so he's still got that consistency. He's not dropping off.
Well,
no, he's definitely not.
Here's one for you, fellas. You mentioned earlier that these guys...
Sorry, just quickly,
that,
Dodgy. Yep.
these guys are in cars that teams don't usually pick. How do you think these guys would be going if they were in the Jags this season? Jag is the predominant car of the season. It's the OP that everyone wants to be in. How do you think they'd go if they were in one of the standard cars that everyone else is driving? Would they be blitzing the whole field?
I'm not sure about blitzing in top split. I definitely think they would be competitive. Where they would fit, it's so hard to gauge though. These guys have had a practically clear run, no battling, no swapping and changing for position. So as soon as you throw them into the mix of top split with other drivers of equal skill, it's your true colours do certainly start to shine. So
yeah, Dodgy, and just on that point, I mean, given the fact that Chris sort of came in mid-season, so he didn't know what tracks we were doing. Everyone was doing testing with the cars. My assumption is that he's picked the Lambo because it's his car of choice for driving. But you're dead right. If he was in another car, whether or not would he be doing the same type of times? I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, without doubt, he's shown his pace in our one make 86. Toyota 86 series, so he's definitely no slouch. But again, mixed vehicle racing, it's anyone's guess. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's a good point though that he does have some good pace in the one make, but yeah, when you open it up to the rest of the field where the teams have got different cars, it would be interesting to see whether or not. I mean, once again, I don't think you can say he wouldn't be competitive. I think he's shown that he's definitely got he's got serious pace. No matter what you put him in, it's just where would he end up in the field of mixed cars? Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Something worthwhile noting as well. I'm sure Footner doesn't want me pointing it out too much, but Rio, right on his tail.
Just run, Footner, go.
Footner sticking true. I like your dedication there, mate. You have kept up a one race appearance since you started, and unfortunately that means you are about to be lapped. Rio is absolutely flying here. Rio's going to get a bit of a slip here. I'm not sure if it's going to be this lap or next. And unfortunately, let's hope that things aren't going to be held up too much.
Footner must be due to come in for fuel, though. Would he be, guys?
No, Footner's on half tank. So he came in, what would it be, lap 24? There we go. He's ducked out in the braking zone, given that position right over. What a gentleman move. He is a lap down, so it is the right thing to do, but still fantastic to see.
Can we just get Chris on the line? How much does he want to PayPal me to fence the leader?
That's the first time someone's called Footner a gentleman. Cap, are you feeling all right?
Well, he's normally known by "Hey, you in the bushes," but at times I've been hanging out with him, so I guess it's "Hey, you too in the bushes." I'll call that a gentlemanly move. But yeah, interesting to see Chris is now down to about 16.5 seconds. That's not closing enough from what I can see to be able to bring that gap back, although he is purple again on his own time as he went to the end of Kemmel.
A quick update between Viper's Fang and Slarty Bar. They've still got that 1 second. They're pretty much, they haven't left each other's side at the moment. They're going around with that 1 second gap.
Yes, exactly the same pit times as well. Pit laps, and very similar overall race times as well, lap times. So yeah, very interesting to see. Those boys will have another stop to go, potentially a 4-lap stint if they're going. No, it'll be a 5-lap stint. I think they're doing 9s until the end, if I'm correct.
Well, they've got 10 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they keep the distance, or whether or not someone makes a faux pas and gives a position up or falls off.
Yeah, it's honestly, between those two, it's certainly going to be whoever makes a bigger mistake first.
That's
again,
right,
they're just rounding turn 1. Viper's Fang gets a great exit once more. He's revving that Mustang out. He really wants to be in that slip of sorry, no, I'm on the wrong person. Viper's Fang is revving the Lexus out, trying to stay just that little bit ahead of Viper's Fang. Not going to do it. Oh, he gets extremely squirrely through the top of Red on there. Going to lose that slip. Possibly pick up a penalty for, yep, there it is.
Oh, darn.
Just for good measure. That hurts.
Yeah, I was just about to say as well that last time we were having this chat was just before they went into the pits, and Slider Bar's tyres were looking almost twice as bad as what Viper Fangs were, but this time around they're a little bit better, so he's just lost his advantage there. We'll see whether he can bring it back.
We've got Cameron in the pits too, guys.
He has jumped into the pits. So he's been doing 10 lap stints from what I can see. He should be coming in for a 9 lap stint on mediums now, so that'll be, from what I can see, potentially the only runner doing... No, Gimp is doing 10 lap stints as well.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, this has turned into a very, very interesting position at the moment. These guys, Gimp and Cameron, I won't be surprised if we won't see them off too far off the front two guys, or at least off Chris, because they're definitely coming in for one more stop, and I don't know whether or not that gap is big enough.
Oh, you're a very good point.
And I think Cameron just jumped on mediums too.
He did.
So sorry, they're at 58 second gap. It's it's a little bit too far out now, I think. Yeah.
It is, but it's going to be closer than what Cameron may think. The time loss here is honestly huge. Looking at the in lap from Cameron was a 3:10 versus his last hot lap was a 2:19.3. Again, super consistency. Lap 28, 2:19.368. Lap 29, 2:19.385. So super consistent there. Across a 2-minute lap, that is insanely good. So yeah, looking at that, it's about 50-second time loss between an in and an out lap. Oh, sorry, a hot and an in lap.
And there's a bit of chatter in the stream chat at the moment. There's a few guys that can't figure out why Chris decided to come in when he did for his last...
Viper's Fang around at the final chicane.
Oh, dramas.
And Chris is very squirrely coming into the main straight, pit straight.
Oh, Viper's Fang is deep in turn 1 as well, dealing with those dirty tyres. It's an unfortunate mistake, and he's just going to hand that position straight back to Slarty Bar. Although, having said that, Slarty Bar's stopped on the run down to Eau Rouge. Was there contact there? Are we too late for a replay, Doc?
Let's see what I can do. Okay, we've gone back to have a look. We've got Viper's Fang coming around, and he's just run forward by himself. No, I must have missed it because I'm not sure what's happening there. Looks like we missed it, unfortunately, guys. He took that first corner real wide.
Yeah, so did I. mean, Viper's Fang took turn 1 real deep. He went around at the bus stop chicane, as Footner pointed out. Not sure if there was contact between those two drivers or not, but it certainly hurt them, and given that 7th spot right up to Footner there.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Capto. Slarty Bar really fell off the pace there. We sort of seemed to suggest that something might have happened.
Yeah, especially that Slarty Bar stopped at the exit of turn 1, or basically stopped.
I don't know how you did it, Footner. Now you only have to do it to 6 more cars, buddy, and you can Bradbury it right to the front.
Well, before starting this race, my goal was to not have a spin, and then during the race, my goal was to not finish last, and then halfway through the race, my goal changed to
not getting lapped.
not getting lapped, and now the only goal I have is to not shit myself for the next 8 laps.
I think your young spring chicken age will be able to hold that proverbial shit in and keep it coming out of your mouth.
I did have KFC for dinner, so...
An hour and a half to let that stew. Yeah, look, maybe you will have to sit in the pits, but at least you'll finish the race if you do need to duck out.
So we got Chris coming up on the back of Slarty Bar and Viper's Fang at the moment, so he's about to hit some traffic just as he was making some inroads.
Yep, Rio's ducked into the pits for his last stint, so he's going to be doing 7 laps to round things out there.
If I was Chris, I'd go in now and not get caught in traffic.
Yeah, look, blue flags, these guys are about to be lapped. They need to move right over, free and clear, not impede the now leading car. Yep, there we go. Viper's Fang, I think, is in Lexus.
Viper.
Yes, he moves out free and clear. I would expect Slarty Bar to do the same as they come through Kemmel. Again, very interesting to see. Rio's tyres are going on. Is he going to be going on to mediums here? Time will tell. He's filling up. Be interesting to see the time difference between these two here. But agree with what you brought up before, Midrisky, the comments in the YouTube chat. Really just trying to figure out what...
mediums it is. What
Chris done. Yep, Rio is onto it. Mediums to round himself out. Chris again going just purple at the end of Kemmel. If we could insert memes, I certainly would. It would just be the Sandra Bullock look of confusion with the numbers all floating around her head. But maybe we'll have to get a bit of a debrief from Chris there. Just was wondering what went through his head to change up his strat so late in the game.
Well, Chris has turned up the fuel. He's done 2:15s in the last 5 laps, which is just crazy.
He absolutely has. I'm not so sure. There we go. So Slartivar has just moved out of the way now, given that position, rightfully so, to Chris, trying to get the move done. Trying to get his lap done and stay in front of Rio. So 28 seconds of difference between them with a pit stop to go. Oof,
Just
Rio.
going to stay with Chris here to see what his split time is, to see whether he got or how badly he got held up in that lap.
Yeah, lap traffic can be touch difficult to deal with. Yeah, he's nearly
About
a second down.
Yeah.
Would have been caught up just a little bit by Slartivar through the middle section, sector 2 of the course. He's going to be coming up to Footner shortly, Lambo v Lambo. I'm sure again Footner's not going to be putting up too much of a fight. He's already shown how good he is at getting out of the way of lead drivers. So Chris here, what do you think? Going for another lap? Going to be coming in. He's only got softs to go. He doesn't need a great deal of fuel to see it through. It could be a shorter stop. 30 seconds between him. Chris is in.
Here he goes. Okay.
Oh, he hit the pit wall on entry. He did. He's got damage to his front left and front bar. Oh, see, this is interesting. We do run light damage throughout Season 8. I wonder if for any reason, because he's entered the pits with damage, that they're going to try and repair it. If so, that's going to be massive.
I think he just comes out with it, I'm not sure.
Might just be the age-old timer still, and
here comes Rio.
It clears itself. There's Rio rounding around the bus stop again, coming up, crossing the line, finishing his outlap. He's going to have a fairly comfortable lead.
Oh, this
Chris
is going to be
only
close.
just getting his tyres on. Fuel going in. That damage is fixing itself, I think. I haven't seen them do anything to the car. He's sitting there still. He's taken a lot more fuel than I would have expected. Rio's well and truly on the run down to Eau Rouge. Chris exiting pits now.
And Cameron's just coming into the chicane, so he's going to be too far off. He's not going to be part of this race.
He's going to be well out of the picture.
Get that slip Footner.
Alright, so gap now 12.5 seconds between Rio and Chris. Rio's done a slower outlap than what he's done in the past by about 1.5 seconds, so we may have missed some lap traffic there, we may have missed a bit of a mistake. So that's only going to help Chris here. He's going to be on an absolute charge. Rio mediums, Chris softs.
Yeah, but even going off their previous times, there's only a second difference between the two. With 5 laps to go, it's going to be a tall order to sort of make up that kind of time in 5 laps. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. If Chris can do some solid mid-15s quicker than what his fastest lap is, maybe. But I honestly think that Rio may have this in the bag. 5 laps to go. Really still scratching my head why Chris changed his strategy. Yeah,
I know. And I don't want to put the commentator's curse on Rio here, but if anything, Chris may get some advantage whereby Rio's been racing on softs for all this time. He's come out on mediums now.
Yeah.
As they start to fall off, he may misjudge a corner, but we'll have to wait and see with 5 laps to go whether or not it's going to be a relatively straightforward run or whether or not there's going to be penalties there somewhere.
Yeah, I was just on board with Rio at the end of Sector 2, that fast right-hander onto the back straight. He did run a little bit wide, outside tyres just in the grass a little bit. So, like you say, he might just be coming to grips with those mediums. And even though there was a second difference between Rio's times and Chris's times, when they were on different tyres, the gap might be different here. Sitting about 11.3 seconds now. Viper's Fang also ducked into the pits for the last time. Actually, something else must have happened to Slarty. No, Slartivar pitted the lap before Viper's Fang.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where those two come out on track again.
It's definitely been a very spread race.
Yeah, Rio coming up behind a driver here. Who's he coming up behind? No, I can't find him on track. Maybe he's not coming up behind anyone.
Yeah,
yep, it's MCDC.
Ah, there it is. Yes, so MCDC in 6th there, about to be rounded by Rio. See, that could be an interesting ploy here. If you're going to be lapped by someone, you need 1 lap less worth of fuel. Oh, Rio has also just gone purple at the end of Kemmel, so those guys setting extremely similar Sector 1 pace, Sector 1 times.
So Footner's now got a job to fight off Slarty Bar. They're within a second of each other.
Footner on the mediums, Slarty Bar on the softs. Footner just needs to keep it nice and smooth for these last couple of laps. Slarty Bar heavy on his tyres. Might be struggling to keep up the pace and hang with Footner. Again, if his tyres wear off and drop away, all he needs is one small mistake. Footner's going to pounce and take that 7th spot right back. Sirik also, as an update in 5th, just jumped into pits for the last time.
Yep, I'm just looking at the time for Cameron. He's definitely starting to fall off there on the mediums. He's nearly up to 30 seconds away. So he definitely didn't have enough there to bridge the gap for these guys who are having an extra pit.
Yeah, very true. The gap now down to just under 10 seconds between Rio and Chris. 4 laps to go. I don't think it's enough. Ooh, Chris has gone 1.5 tenths purple, the end of sector 2. He's not hanging about. His outlap was a 2:09.9. Light fuel, soft tyres.
Yep, I would not be surprised if we see a 5.5 here before the end of the race.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Mid-15s is where he's going to have to hit, if not lower with some of Rio's time. 17 flat there on mediums. That is no slouch of a time.
We're on for a lap with Chris on board if you want to go through it. He is punching it out at the moment. There's your 15.5.
There's a 15.5.
On my prediction, 15.5. All right, on with Chris for a lap here. He's ducking into turn 1. He leaves it in second gear. The Lambo is known for its power, so he gets a great run through. I'm going to apologise in advance. I don't know the corner names. What I do know, I'll point out. But Eau Rouge, you want to stick left and not turn in too soon. He doesn't take curb there. Takes plenty through that. Nice and easy through Radown, down Camel. Tucks it in tight. Look at that speed of the Lambo. He's hitting 255 already. That would be my Genesis absolutely maxed out. 260 on a fuel save. Hard on the pegs. Just missing those 2 cones on the right hand side. Moving it back left, nice and smooth. Mid-track. Going to line yourself up with this right-hander. Again, keeping it away from those curbs. Nice and smooth. Hit the pegs as soon as we hit the start of that ripple strip on your left. Keeping it nice and tight through this entire right-hander. It's a couple of different lines you can take through there, but definitely one of the smoother ones. Keeping clear of those 2 cones on the left there, apex humper corner. He's ended off in the absolute bushes there in the forest in a past enduro here, and it's not a fun place to be. I think there's a 2-on fast double left-hander. He keeps it super smooth there, gets the car rotated very nicely. He's got a little bit of lap traffic coming up here with MCDC, I think, back into third, keeping it nice and tight mid-track for the left-hander. Gets a little bit squirrely as he's trying to pick his way around. There we go, MCDC backs out of it. Hard on the pegs, late apex through here. Bit of a correction there as well as he's trying to manage the soft tyres. He's gone 0.1 purple. Fantastic, just a little bit of a lift there through that right-hander. Gets a nice run onto the back straight. Again, purple lap. If he can hold this through and get a nice run through this next left and into bus stop chicane, that corner speed, sitting at 250, just dropped down to 248, back up to 253, 256, hard on the pegs just as that shadow ends, bringing it right up, back into second gear. Good run through the first apex, nice run through the second, nice and early on the power too. This is going to be another purple lap, I think, boys. 14.4. Sorry, 15.4.
Oh, this
what
is
a great
crazy.
lap. Good lap to be on board with, Dodgy. Well picked.
Hundreds off the previous.
Again, that consistency. 15.509, 15.489 the last couple of laps. That gap now down to 8 seconds. Oh, 3 laps though.
Yeah, he's
2 seconds a lap.
Yeah, it's a big ask. He's been only doing about 1.5 second a lap better, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Rio, and he's been doing a 17.2, 17 flat, 17 flat. So unless that starts to, I mean, yeah, at most, if he's doing 17.5s, there might be a 2 second difference there, but he's still going to end up short about a 2 second gap. So they might close up, but it may not be enough.
I don't think it's going to be enough. Rio again. These 2 drivers absolutely impeccable on their consistency, down to a couple of hundredths. Like, it's not even half a tenth. Like, I'm super impressed between these two drivers. So yeah, 17 flat for the last couple of laps from Rio, 15 exactly mid 15s from Chris. Fantastic driving from absolutely everyone on board here. Footner is being harassed by Slidey Bar all over the back of him, down to 7th.
It's been happening for the last 3 laps now, but yeah, you're feeling though Footner's starting. Oh, his tyres are looking pretty good, but
yeah, Footner making that ultra wide Lambo even wider is certainly not going to give this position up any time soon, or without a bit of ease. Slidey Bar's run deep. Going to give that next spot back. The fuel between these two drivers is actually, it's exactly the same.
Well, you're right, mate. With just under 3 laps, or just over 3 laps to go, you might want to make that car a little bit wider, as wide as a happy camper on holidays munching donuts and sucking back on a supersized sugar supplement. Just broaden it out a bit, mate.
Oh, what a fantastic analogy. It looks like Slidey Bar's he's trying everything. He's throwing all the fakes at Footner. Footner, an experienced racer.
Oh, no.
I had to mention it, didn't I? He's going to have dirty tyres coming into this bus stop chicane here. Plenty of a gap, though. Not going to come under fire. Penalty for good measure for Footner. Slidey Bar. Oh, here we go. There's that drift show from Footner. Slidey going to be right on the tail again.
Sorry, Footner, I shouldn't have mentioned that. Stay on your water diet, mate. Stay on the water diet.
The gap between Rio and Chris, 6.5.
He got past.
There we go. Slidey Bar's taken that position over Footner as well. Moved up into 7th. Still plenty of time for Slidey Bar to make a mistake, Footner. Plenty of time left. But yeah, again, that gap between first and second. Interesting to note, actually, Cameron has pulled in. The gap was about a minute the last time I checked between Chris and Cameron, right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's pulled in 20 seconds there. I must have missed something. Maybe it's just pit stop strat. I think maybe Cameron came in before Chris and that gap has been brought down, but 20 seconds, that's about the only thing I can see why. Anyway, update between first and second, now 5.7 the gap, penultimate lap. Oh, it's honestly, he's closing at an insane rate, but I just don't see it's going to be enough.
Yeah, he's doing some pretty quick times, but Rio hasn't fallen off his pace either. He's just he's done a 17.2, so he's still within that margin that he's been setting with the last 4 laps that he's been on, which are very low, either 17 flats or 17.2s. So he's not losing enough time for Chris to make that inroad disappear, or make the time disappear.
No, definitely not. The gap is still coming down about 5 seconds now. I wonder if Chris was able to hold out his strategy, that he would have had the lead coming into the last stage of the race. Oh, who knows? We're not going to know now, other than the fact that Rio, 5-second lead, as he round the bus stop chicane for the second last time.
I think it's going to be
17.8, a little bit slower there.
Oh, there you go. That was a fair way off.
They're on the same straight now. They can see each other.
Chris is still on a 15.
I'm sure Chris is going to be super hungry there. Yeah, again, Chris 15.8, impeccable consistency from both of those drivers. Even Cameron, he's been in the very high 18s, extremely low 19s for the last several laps. Gimp again. All of these E League drivers, absolutely on point for consistency. Gimp's last 2 laps, 2:19.477, and lap 37, 2:19.441. That's like, again, hundreds between multiple laps there.
Well, I think that
Sirik as well. Sorry, Medrisky cutting you off there. In 5th, he's done a 2:18.3 and a 2:18.3. I don't know where these guys are finding it.
Yeah, I think what might be helping the guys is that they're not feeling too much pressure at the moment. They're just out there doing their thing, so that consistency is easy to achieve when you haven't got anyone breathing down your neck.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're not trying to defend on anyone. You're not constantly looking in your mirrors. Last lap, 4.5 seconds between Rio and Chris. It's honestly such a fantastic charge from Chris. It's just not going to be enough.
Well, I think that this will have to go down in the history books of the Wheel-to-Wheel League, and Chris's decision to make that extra pit stop will be an X-File moment. What was Chris thinking?
It's going to be firmly saved in the Unsolved Mysteries file there. I'm still trying to think about it. I'm not sure what changed. I must have missed a crucial bit of information. That gap, 4.1. Again, Chris is hungry. He's been able to pull down a second. Honestly, if this is going to go for another lap or two, at the pace that they're going, I'm sure Chris would be able to get it. But Rio,
Yep.
Great drive here.
Yeah, I think his. I was just about to say, I think that his downfall was the fact that they did the first stint for the full range of laps, whereas this last stint was a reduced number. But if he had those extra 2 or 3 laps, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, especially at the closing pace. Rio, fantastic drive there. He's given us a flash of the headlights. 39 laps, you've come out on top. Winning strategy in the end. Chris there, you had the pace closed in, take out second spot on the podium. Cameron rounding out our podium if it is mistake-free in the last sector for him.
And for the guys watching on screen, that total lap time was just on 1:32 for Chris and just a little, or 4 seconds under for Rio. But congratulations to both guys. Some cracking pace, and we won't know how quick that is until next week when the Split 1 drivers get out there and show us what they've got. But you'd imagine with the Split 1 guys, it's going to be closer racing, there'll be more slipping, and the time should be, you'd expect would be a little bit quicker,
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, we have missed a couple of people. Everyone who has been lapped has actually finished the race, so I do apologise there. Dodgy, you may have caught it. I did not.
I
Cameron,
didn't. They caught me by surprise too.
Yeah, look, I completely forgot about that, so big apologies to those drivers. Cameron rounding up 3rd place, Slidebar taking out 6th, MCDC on 7th, Viper's Fang rounding out the 8th position. Footner, for some reason, he's just coming out of the pits. Don't know what's going on there, maybe a bit of a joker lap, has finished plumb last.
Gimp van through the chicane, just about to cross the line for 4th.
Nice job, Gimp.
Fantastic drive. Yeah, from Gimp in that pug, being able to manage himself and come home in 4th place. Sirik as well, BMW again. His tyres actually looking really good for the 4 or 5 laps that he's been on them. Rounding the bus up for the final time. It's a nice drive out. Going to be running towards that line as our final driver and finished.
Mid, I do think you actually scared the piss out of Apex and Adam mentioning that 132 flat. I see the question mark starting to appear in chat now. I think Div 1 guys are starting to get a bit worried.
Those drivers at the top, I think the gauntlet's well and truly been thrown down. I mean, look, I'm in top split as well, but honestly, in the Genesis, I don't see myself challenging for a 1st place. I just want to be able to make it home in a reasonable shape. But again, fantastic drive from Rio, taking home the race win.
Congratulations, guys.
And yeah, with a cracking time, 1:31.56. I've not done any full race setting practice yet, so I don't know where that sits. Guys in the comments will have to fill that in for me, but I'm sure that is a very quick time, especially given the strategy being 5 stints there, 4 stops.
Yeah, Captain, I'm the same, mate. I haven't run any full races at the moment, so I don't really know whether or not that 132 was, or where it compares. But going off the chat, it looks like it was a pretty quick time. Yeah.
Yeah, given a couple of the boys a couple of the big wigs, wheel to wheel, have made comment about it. It's by no means a slouch of a time. So, again, congratulations to our podium sitters, Rio, Chris, and Cameron. We'll begin to wrap things up. Midrisky, thanks for joining me here for the fantastic final round of our season. It's been a pleasure.
It's definitely been my pleasure, and it's not often I get out of the asylum. I'll have to contact the doctors and the nurses to see whether or not I get 1 or 2 more stints during season 9, so I can play with the mic a bit more. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely, and Dodgy, as always, thank you very much for doing our visuals. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here as well.
Not a problem.
To being on track next week.
Yeah, no worries at all. It was great to see that Elvis still lives, so thanks for that, Mid. I just want to throw out a quick thank you again to our sponsors for the stream, which is Next Level Racing, Pagnian Imports, Future Streetwear, and Races. So thanks to those 4 companies for looking after us all season. Hopefully we may see them back, if not some new big bright sponsors for next season.
Yeah, you're dead right there. Without those sponsors, we would not be here being able to present as many streams as we are. So, yeah, big shout out to those guys. Jump on their websites and support our local crews. Again, thanks for joining me here tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed the race. It certainly had the gauntlet shown down for a fastest overall time. good luck to everybody who is racing next week.
Cheers. Good night, all.
Tonight.